now be recorded.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Finance Committee meeting of June 11th, 2020, and it's a global meeting. And at this point, we have well under the 250 people that can call in or be part of the meeting if you just go to the agenda and follow the instructions. I'm going to take a roll call to see who's here from the Finance Committee and who's not here. We'll go from there. I'm here. Dana, John, you're here.
I'm here.
Angelo is trying to call in. I don't think he's made it yet. Angelo. Mark Amaraz. Tom.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Dan.
Here.
Brian.
Here.
Dale. Okay, we do have a quorum present. The first order of business, I just want to just start out by acknowledging, I know this is the Finance Committee, and I've even said it myself many times that you know, we deal with the dollars and cents, and we don't always deal with the emotion of things, but right now there's a lot of emotional pain and suffering going on in Harwich with the people. There's a lot that had to deal with either physically or financially or emotionally or in many different ways. And we just as a committee need to acknowledge that and have that in our minds as we go forward with our business. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. We don't have any approved minutes. I can tell you that our recording secretary, Jeff, has sent me his resignation. So, once again, without a recording secretary. John, I will ask you to keep any votes that we do tonight, and I will prepare minutes based on that. So if you could do that for us, John, is that all right with you?
Sure. Yep.
As we did before. We did it for a year that way. I guess we can keep doing it.
Yeah.
And the real first item on the agenda is just an update of kind of where we are. And I just want to try and go through some of the dates for you and tell you where I think we are. And then I'll allow each of you to chime in on that, and Carol as well, on what else they can add to this. I know that at some point in the very near future, we'll be closing FY 2020. That 11 months are in the books. Carol has given us an update on where we stand with collections based on the 11 months. July 1st, votes from the Finance Committee or anything, July 1st, we go to the 1/12 budget. And that's going to make some interesting work and changes for the town and for us going through that for the first time. That begins July 1st, just automatic. And get into more of that as we go on. I believe next week the selectmen are having a meeting, and they may invite all of us to join their meeting, but that's kind of going on. And then July 15th, we officially close the books on FY 2020. I know we've got some votes to take tonight to help that along with the transfer request for year end. And when we get to that point, the only other question I had for Carol was whether or not she thinks there would be any more after this. But July 15th, we close the door on 2020. And then in September, we have our annual town meeting. And there's also ballots set up for September 7th to be able to try and do anything with kind of town meeting stuff from that meeting. Not enough time to do it up front. They would have to guess what's going to be on there before. We also have a ballot this month, which was already scheduled and which is going to be allowed to go forward. And that has to do with couple of leftover questions from Carter. Those questions have to be ratified by the public. Those will go on, and that's on June 30th. It's a short window as far as how long the voting is going to be allowed to happen, but it is going to be allowed to happen. People can also write in and request a ballot and do it that way, but that's coming up on the 30th. There are no financial questions on that ballot. The election of offices are on that ballot. As far as I know, there's nobody opposed, but that's going on. So date-wise, that's kind of where we are. And then you hit the meeting in late September, the annual town meeting for FY 2021. And then the Board of Selectmen go right into preparing for 2022, because that's about when they start putting their budget message together and all that. So a lot going on, a lot coming up, and I'll just go through the list and see if anybody else wants to chime in on where we are right now. Talk about FY 2020, talk about FY 21, and so forth tonight, but in a little more detail later in the warrant in the meeting. But right now, as to where we are, and Carol, if you're there, I'll ask you if you have anything to add.
Good evening, everyone. I have just prepared the first draft of the 1/12 budget. So I've prepared the months of July, August, and September. I wanted to take a last review of that. I have reached out to the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and relayed Dana's request for the Finance Committee to see those, to review those as well. And I just heard from him this evening that he is certainly would be happy for you to have a look at those and review them, and we can have a discussion about them. So those should be available tomorrow afternoon.
Wonderful. And Mark Amras, I see you have joined the meeting. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Just want to mark you as present. We'll just go through the list. John, do you have anything you want to add for where we are right now?
Not really, Dana. You know, this is we've had a long void here of 2 months at least, maybe longer, of no, at least no financial information disseminating from the selectman or the town administrator. And this is a lot of questions that would probably take more than 2 hours for me to ask. But I guess just a basic one. On town meeting on the 22nd, is there any thought of adjusting the quorum count on that right now, or is that still being discussed or not even discussed?
Yeah, no, I don't think they've actually made any decisions on that yet. The hope is that that meeting, by having it that late, it would be a fairly normal meeting, 2 nights, and cover all the warrant articles. But as I told Carol in a phone conversation earlier, I think this meeting tonight for all of us is going to produce more questions than answers. If they can't have a normal meeting in September, then it is agreed. A law has been passed that allows the selectmen, in conjunction with the moderator, to reduce the quorum to as little as 15 people. So the head table could run the whole meeting. Like they would do that, so that the authority is there.
Okay, I did read that, Carol said that. I'll just listen, because again, there's many questions I have, and I don't want to tie up everything. And but I'll just listen now, and then we'll see how it progresses.
Okay.
Gentlemen, could I pipe in just for a second?
Sure.
The Board of Selectmen at this point in time has rescheduled town meeting to September 28th.
Right.
28th now. Okay.
28th, yeah. Okay, I don't know if Angelo's made it on and on. Angelo? Hey, how about Mark Amras? Mark? Anything for where we are right now?
Nope.
I have a question, if that's all right.
Sure.
So I'd like to ask, and you please forgive me for my ignorance, but I would like to understand what drove, why the rationale for the 1/12 budget. That's something I'm unfamiliar with. I've not seen that before. I was wondering if you could give me some sort of a brief overview of why the 1/12 budgeting strategy.
Okay, Carol, I'll go first just to give it a shot, and then you can fix what I mess up. But you know, the municipalities, towns are required to have a budget. Our current budget ends June 30th. And we have to have a new budget July 1st. It has to be voted. If you do not have a budget July 1st, then there is a mechanism now that allows for a budget to allow the town to continue to operate, even though they have not got a voted budget yet. We're supposed to have a town meeting. We're supposed to have a voted budget. It's going to happen between now and July 1st. So this mechanism allows for the town to go forward. And I'm not sure, Carol, maybe you can help me on this as to whether or not this mechanism existed before this, or if it was all just part of the new legislation. But there is a way for towns to move forward after July 1st.
That was very good, Dana. So this, it's my understanding that this has been in place, the 1/12 budgets have been in place prior to COVID-19 and this current emergency situation that we're in, that this has been longstanding. I just don't think it's probably been used very often, if at all.
So it's a way for us to move forward, and the idea would be that we would use this mechanism for the first 3 months of the budget anyways, into September. And in September, we would actually vote the FY 2020 budget, which would change it back to a normal budget cycle from that point forward. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you for your response. I appreciate it.
Tom, do you have anything for us, Tom?
No, I don't know. It's a lot of reading I got to catch up on. Again, like John was saying, is, you know, by the time you find some information coming through, then you have to kind of catch up real quick on what to do when we get it.
Yeah, I do know. I was able to go to I just Googled MA 1/12 budget and got a lot of information from Mass Municipal and a lot of different sources. So that if you want to do some extra reading, there is plenty on the 1/12 budget and how it works.
Terrific. Thank you, Dan. Thank
How
you.
about Dan? Anything?
Yes, Dana. This question is probably for Carol. The report that you sent us for FY 1920, if I understand, is showing a $2,196,053 excess income over expenditures. Is that the case?
I believe that it was showing a surplus in a projected estimated surplus in expenditures. So meaning that your expenditures are estimated to be less than what was appropriated.
Okay.
In addition, your revenues have come in, the town of Harwich's revenues have come in extremely strong, especially in the past couple of months. There's certainly a pent-up demand for golf. The disposal area is bringing in significant revenue. And then your collections for real estate and personal property have certainly been strong, just as strong as they have been in prior years, which we were not originally anticipating. The areas where we're showing areas of concern are obviously your hotel and short-term rental, your rooms tax, or meals tax, I'm sorry, your meals tax, and then motor vehicle excise taxes are lower than where we originally anticipated them.
So are we going to see the unexpended fund balance go up by a couple of $1 million?
Early estimates? We're talking about early estimates, correct? Because
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. Then you would see your free cash certified higher than it was last year, and you will see your unexpended fund balance increase as well.
Okay. And that amount that won't be determined until it's certified by the Department of Revenue, I think?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And that's if we could do that in time for the town meeting. That's another question out there. And there's still, again, quite a few more questions out there about that. Dale, is Dale on at all? We hear from him? Dale? Brian, you have anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry, I muted out. No, I'm good.
Okay. So that kind of gives us where we are. A lot of stuff to come. A lot of stuff will be coming up as we discuss the closing out of 2020 and the starting up of 2021. In order to close out 2020, we do need to vote some year-end transfers. You've all been given copies of the transfers. They are also in the packet. I'll just give a view of it first, and then we'll talk about voting them. Everybody shuffling papers. Carol, anything you want to address the transfers with, or?
As far as the budget transfers, you have before you 6 transfers this evening. And I'm happy to review all of them with you. Do you want me to go through them one by one?
No, I don't think that's necessary. I think
I just have one question on number 1, which is relative to the impacting the valuation of the elementary school. I was curious, when you're shifting from the health insurance to casualty or vice versa, how that is impacting the value of the elementary school. Because I'm assuming the used truck is a capital investment.
So I can tell you that the elementary school was revalued by Maya, who was the insurance agent of the town. With the revaluation of that building, insurance premium increased.
Gotcha.
So maybe I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
No, there are 2 items on that pairing. One is relative to the equipment purchase, which is clearly capital, and the other one talked to the impact of the valuation of the elementary school. And given where the transfers were, I couldn't necessarily understand how it was impacting the valuation.
so those 2 transfers are on the same page, but I don't think they're dependent.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah, they're just one speaks to capital. The other one talks about the valuation of the elementary school. Now I understand it's relative to an appraisal and increased premium.
That's the only question I had, Carol, was whether or not when say this will close it out, or will we have until the 15th? Will there be more?
There may be more. I tried to estimate at the best of my ability where we're going to be at the end of the year, so you only had to do this once.
Yeah, I have requested through Mary a meeting each of the first 2 weeks of July, so that we'd have one in the first week and one in the second week to be able to make sure that we're available for any votes that have to be taken. And I'm trying to still organize a meeting for next week, but I'm actually trying to get that so that we can be in the Griffin room, so that we don't have to do it this way. We would do it this way for the rest of the public, but at least the members who could go, the 8 of us, could be in the Griffin room, but we haven't gotten that far yet. We're working on that. With that said, unless there's other questions, I'll actually entertain a motion to approve the transfer requests as submitted. There are 6 of them, and you can somebody could make this one motion to cover all of them, or we can do them individually. It's your choice at this point. Either way, I'll read through them.
Approve all 6 of them.
That's Brian made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a second from Dan. Discussion.
Dana? Can you hear me? It's Angelo.
Oh, Angelo.
Angelo.
Welcome aboard. Yes, I can hear you, Angelo.
Okay. I have a question. As I look through the documents, it looks like we're going to be spending 1.5%, generating 1.5% more tax dollars next year than we did in 2020. And I was wondering if we can use some of these funds that we have to lower that, so we don't have to actually raise the taxes 1.5% on everybody this year. I know it would stop putting the money where it went to, but we've already have that money.
I would think that that's a question we can get into. You mean in terms of these transfer requests?
That's right.
I myself don't know. I mean, this money's going from specific places to do specific things. The only large group of money would be the sixth one, which is the disbursement of the tornado reimbursement funds to the departments that used it, if I understand that correctly. Is that correct, Carol?
So the tornado funds all of them were segregated into one particular area in the budget so that it didn't affect every department's ongoing operational budgets. So that $844,000 was segregated within administration.
And that would fix all of those at once.
Correct.
And there was additional money above that that would, I guess, presumably fall to free cash.
Correct.
If you don't use it. Is that correct? Or do we have to give it back to the state?
No, that's correct. That's correct. It would fall to free cash.
Okay. Caleb, do you have a question? I see you're here.
Nope, no question.
Okay. If you do, just chime in. So we have a motion. Any more discussion? All right, hearing none, I'm going to take a roll call vote. The motion is to approve all 6 transfers that were in the packet as they were printed in the packet. Public document seen by as many people that chose to see it. Answer any questions about them that people have, but there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different transfers on 6 different requests. So I'll take a roll call vote. All those in favor would say aye and opposed would say no. Dana is an aye. John?
Aye.
Angelo?
No.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Dale is not present. All right, so the vote was 2, 4, 6, 7, 6 to 1 in favor. So the transfers are done. Carol, I'll get those signed and I'll get them to town hall.
Thank you.
But still under that agenda in terms of talking over FY 2020, before we close that year out, I know Angelo does raise a good question. I didn't necessarily see it as part of the transfers, but even with the transfers aside, there is going to be some fund balances at the end of FY 2020, and we're going to be short going into FY 2021. So I think Angelo question, and he can state it himself, he'd like, is is there a way to apply some of that money to help relieve some of the pressure on 2021? Is that kind of the gist of it, Angelo?
A good part of it. My question is, what can we do to not raise the tax level for our taxpayers for next year? And it looks like it's 1.5% raise, and I was wondering if there was a way to stop it.
I kind of got a feeling.
Which means you either have to not do some things and so therefore not pay for them, or you have to raise perhaps revenues in different ways, or maybe we should postpone things for a year or two so we get in better shape. But I think we need to have a target of what money level we want to be at and work to get to that target.
Okay, any comments on that, or Carol, do you have something there? John?
Just a comment. I agree with Angelo's concept of the trying to ease the burden on the taxpayers, but I think at this point we don't even have a 2021 budget presented to us. I mean, we had one 2 months ago, but I think it's changed somewhat dramatically from what I've heard from the school system. They're anticipating laying off 15 people. So I don't know. We don't have a budget yet, as far as I know. A budget that we can actually vote on, other than a budget that's 2.5 months old. And I'm sure it's been changed tremendously since then. That's my only comment.
Go ahead, Angelo.
I was only working with the numbers that were presented in the document that we have. And if we don't need a budget, we need a target. Maybe the selectmen should just make a target of where the dollar should be. And
yeah,
I think you're right.
I think we need to have a talk with the selectmen. We're going to talk in a few minutes tonight about the FY 2021 budget and all the questions that are out there with that. I think Angelo's right now was talking about just leftover funds from this year. We know we're going to have some funds left over. How do we use them? Can we use them? And that would be a policy decision from the selectmen.
Yeah.
I think that it would be a good idea for us to at least be part. I think at least from individual ones and from reviewing the meetings of theirs that I've seen, they're not interested in raising taxes either. So maybe if there's a consensus of that goal, then maybe that's something we could work towards. But getting there would be difficult under the circumstances with the revenue shortages that are projected. Anything else on FY 2020 for tonight? Other than I will ask everybody to email me with questions, because as John said, we all have a lot of them. The more that I can get them onto one heading, better off we'll be going forward, I think, as far as putting together agendas and who we need to talk to and so forth. And again, the immediate goal is to try and get us into a room to get together rather than on screens together, but we'll go from there. Anything else? Next item on the agenda is John, go ahead.
One last. Is Carol still on the line?
Carol?
I'm here.
Hey, Carol. This is John. I know you've done the revenue projections for the end of 2020. Have you done any revenue projections for 2021 yet? Because that seems to be a topic there that we're looking to have shortfalls there. But I just wondered if you had any done for 2021 yet.
Yeah, there was at least one document that she prepared that I sent as part of the packet. It's 2021.
I have just revised that document today, make the draft 112 budgets, so it begins with an actual budget for the year, which includes revenue and expenditures. and then it breaks it
Okay.
down into a 1/12 budget. So I do have new estimates for you that I will be able to share with you.
And
Okay.
now,
Are you going to send that all out to us by email?
yeah, she will.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, 2021. Again, we're gonna start with this 1/12 budget. You know, we're gonna have Carol, and she is the source for this right now, as to what that's gonna look like. And we would travel under that budget for 3 months, basically, until we get to a new voted budget in September. We are able to, I'm sure by then, figure out how to successfully have a town meeting and vote that. As you know, we had what I would guess as a kind of a 2-night town meeting warrant that the selectmen had prepared for the May meeting that we didn't have. And it had 59 articles, which they voted to take a bunch out. I sent you, as part of the packet, copies of what was in and what was out. And I don't know from them, again, whether they would put some of those back in for the September meeting, now that it's in September, whether they would scrap the warrant completely and start with a brand new one, what their plan is. So I guess that's just another series of questions we have for them. But it's another area where I would ask each of you if you have any questions right now, tonight, about 2021. John?
No, I'm looking through now. Again, do we know if, how reliable this is going to be? Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of changes to these things once all the dust settles from this COVID thing. I'm sure a lot of this probably is going to end up changing on us.
I just know that, yes, in one discussion that I was able to have with Carol, she was very helpful in explaining to me, and this goes back to a question that Golf had with the selectmen in several meetings, that our budgets here on Cape Cod don't actually line up just as 12 parts of an equal pie. They're not all equal.
Yeah.
Some months are front loaded and
Yep.
other months are not. And Carol can correct me if I'm wrong, but she assures me that there is allowances for this to be able to happen on Cape Cod, and here particularly in Harwich. And we're going to be able to balance it in that way, that some months will be unequal from other months. Certainly, as she was talking about the revenue, February and March are much different revenue collection months than June. June's the bigger revenue month because that's when everybody's buying stickers and getting out and things like that. So spending is the same way. There's a lot of pressure on the first month to send money to the schools and send money to the county and all the debt and all those kinds of things that are front loaded. And that's the way it works. Is that correct, Carol?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. We make a payment to Barnstable County Retirement for the entire year for their assessment for retirement. In addition to that, Monomoy School District has a 7-month schedule in which their assessments are broken up by. The first 2 months of those are July and September, whereas Cape Cod Regional Technical High School has a different, I guess, way that they break up the assessments, and the first one is due in August. So there's a number of items that we pay on an annual basis. Another one of those, an example, good example, would be all of our property and liability insurance. Those premiums are due in July, and the town receives a significant discount by paying those premiums that way. So I have built the 1/12 budget based on historical information of when exactly the town has made payments. For some of the departments, that they hire seasonal staff They incur overtime during the summer months to support the swell of visitors and folks that own properties here and they're coming to visit here to be able to support that endeavor. So the 112 budget is definitely built on those factors, and that is recognized by the Department of Revenue as well.
Questions? Anybody?
On any matter, Dana, or just what Carol mentioned?
On anything, but Carol, I think, has really done what she needed to do to make it at least clear to me as to how it's going to start, and I'm happy with that. But anything.
Well, the big question in my mind is the 2021 budget. Are there projections for that budget? Have any projections been made? Are those projections showing a deficit? What size of a deficit are we looking at? And have there been any discussions on how strategically we're going to address that deficit?
Okay, what I know.
Those are just questions in my mind. I'm not suggesting anybody's got answers.
Yeah, I do have some, I think.
Okay.
First off, as just like the vote for July 1st, we have to start with a budget, and it cannot exceed what this year's budget is right now. So the FY 2020 budget is the basis for going forward in terms of some sort of spending plan.
Right.
And the idea would be that if your spending plan for FY 2021 has to be less than 2020, you've got to make sure that you take that into account when you put the 1/12 budget together. And if you think it's going to be higher than or equal to FY 2020, then you can adjust it that way. But we're restricted by FY 2020 right now. So there's little chance that we would spend FY 27 money, that would spend some outrageous amount that it just won't happen. The Department of Revenue and all the people involved just can't allow something like that to happen. So we are restricted in that way going forward for the first 3 months. And we will, for the September annual town meeting, be talking about what is proposed for the budget with a lot more information. The only advantage to having the meeting late is you get a lot of information that you are already proceeding through. You've spent the first 3 months, you've made it this far, and you can go forward with a lot better information. But we will be debating that budget, what is proposed to vote at the September meeting, just like we would if it was coming in May, when we started the budget process back in March, when this whole thing came upon us. So we will get a chance to chime in on the answers to your questions and our positions and those things for that budget when it comes. The oddity will be that we'll be 3 months into it, and some things will already happen, but it happens in such a measured way that it's a safe way to start a municipality that doesn't have a budget. Is that correct, Carol?
I would say that that is correct. The information that we have received on from various phone calls with the Department of Revenue says that they begin with the FY20 budget. And and if they take that FY20 budget that appears on the tax recap and they divide it by 12, they say your 1/12 budget cannot be lower than what's on the result of their division. So that sometimes that provides a challenge, because there are months where those numbers may be lower, and that's one of the challenges that I was faced with when I was calculating the 1/12 budget. But my understanding is, as long as municipalities provide a substantive explanation, and then those 1/12 budgets would be approved. However, they have been returning them. So municipalities have been submitting their 1/12 budget. The Department of Revenue has either not agreed with them and have returned them, and so they start at the starting ground again. So my only caution is not to wait too long, because we need to have a budget in place by July 1st. Otherwise, we have no authority to pay any bills whatsoever. I don't know if that was helpful.
No, that was.
I do have a recorded Q&A with the Department of Revenue that I would be happy to share with all of you if you were interested in listening to it. It was finance directors all over the state that were included in this Q&A. If you're interested, I'm happy to share.
Okay, we may take you up on that individually. Any other questions on 2021, just for tonight and going forward? Okay, I know it's coming on towards 9 o'clock, and I want to make sure we're done by then. The only old business, as I said right at the very beginning, that I know of is some minutes that are due, and the recording secretary that has resigned. So to anybody that sees this or watches this or knows anybody, if we can beat the bushes and get someone who wants to earn a little extra money, taking the minutes of the finance committee, we are available. John and I did it for a whole year, and I don't know if we're ready to do that again for another year. I would really like to get something from somebody. Anybody have anything under old business? All set. How about new business? Other than what we have already talked about tonight, does anybody want to bring up anything new that's not rolled into FY20 or 21 as far as budgeting stuff?
You know, Dana,
Go ahead,
everything
Dan.
is in such a state of flux that the only thing that we can really concentrate on is the 2021 budget. And, you know, in terms of discussions of any kind of other initiatives we might want to get into, I don't think the timing is right for it.
It's on there because it has to be. Anything else for this meeting or for this evening? I'll just go through one at a time again in case anybody wants to add anything before we sign off. John?
No, I'm fine, Dana. Thank you.
Okay, Angelo, are you still out there?
Yes, I am. I'm fine.
Okay. Mark?
All set.
Tom?
Good to go.
Dan?
I'm good.
Brian?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, we also have Caleb. You're still on with us. Caleb, the beach program's going to run this year?
I don't know about that.
We don't know about the little, the swimming lessons and all those kinds of things. But the beaches will be open, and there will be parking attendants and those kinds of things, and lifeguards.
Sounds like a question for the rec department. I'm just here to listen to the recording.
Okay,
I can answer your question.
yeah,
The town has actually hired additional monitors for the parking lots and the beaches that are going to be covered under one of the funding sources. That's, I believe it's the CARES Act that's going to fund those. So there will be lifeguards, there will be beach monitors, there'll be additional beach monitors, as I mentioned, and parking lot monitors, just to make sure that folks are keeping physical distances and adhering to the rules and regulations.
okay. So the last, the last I heard, the bathrooms were going to be open, and I heard the bathrooms weren't going to be open. I don't know the answer to that one either. I think it depends on cleaning staff or something like that. So hopefully the idea is to get this town off and running. Restaurants are starting to open again and start generating revenue again. Anything else before we adjourn? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Second,
Mark, seconded from who?
Tom.
Tom? We'll take a roll call. John?
Yes, yes.
Angelo?
Yes,
Mark?
yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Dan?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I'm an aye. Carol, anything you want to add? You get the last word.
No, I hope to have the 112 budget with the entire budget for fiscal year FY21, showing you the efficiencies and revenue as well. They have not been addressed by the board yet, but I'm happy to share this draft document with you. I should have it to you at the end of the day tomorrow.
Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us tonight and helping us struggle through this first meeting in the new way we're doing things. And we
Sure,
really
no problem.
appreciate your input. With that, I will mark the meeting adjourned.